very much. You know, it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, good morning. If you want to get your credits for this talk, you have to close your computers, don't text, don't email. We're shutting the doors, we're pumping the oxygen out of the room. That is my requirement if you want your credits. Somebody just clapped. You like that idea. So, you know, it's interesting, and Jerry, thank you so much for that, because to your point, it is such a wonderful opportunity to always reconnect with you. And yes, Jerry is right. Jerry was the first person to introduce me into the HR world as a keynote speaker, because I talk about this topic that I didn't think was really going to resonate with everybody. It's this idea, ladies and gentlemen, and friends and colleagues, that we are all in sales. Now, if you're thinking this is a sales presentation, just take a deep breath, because this is not what you're thinking. We're going to talk about changing the conversation for what we do to create even more stability and growth in our profession, your profession, and what we do. Now, before I really get into the presentation today, I do about 80 or 90 keynotes a year, and invariably I get asked a question. People kind of stop, they look at me, and they go, "Are you him? Are you him?" And I'm like, "Am I whom?" That's about as good English as you're going to get out of me. And I go, "No, I am not him." So let's be clear, all right? I am not him. If you come up to me and say, "Deal, no deal," I ain't going to react well. Now, the next thing is, I was in Denver last week speaking at a two-day women's emerging leadership conference for the construction industry. And one lovely person walked up to me and said, "I love your tours of Italy." And I'm like, "What tours of Italy? And please do not tell my wife, because if she finds out that I went to Italy without her, and we're going in 3 weeks, I'm in deep trouble." Now, my wife is a litigator. Let me be very clear. My wife is a litigator. I wake up in the morning and I say good morning, and she says, "Prove it." So I am not him either. And to those of you of a certain age who are wondering, who is this person? You know what? Google it. If you haven't heard of Stanley Tucci, and by the way, Howie Mandel, you're welcome to come up and shake my hand. I hope you will. I hope you're all going to grab a copy of the book. I'll be happy to sign it, make it worth a little bit less than it's worth right now. And I will shake your hand, because unlike Howie, I am not a germaphobe. Now, 2012, it was funny, I was listening to what Jerry said about, and I was struggling to figure out the year, and it was 2012, I believe, that I was right here in this building doing, I guess, what was called a mega session. I don't know if it was called that then. Thank you for turning down that light. I'm starting to think I have a migraine or there's something going on in my head. And I spoke here, and I'll never forget, I did a mega session on Everyone's in Sales, how HR has this amazing power and opportunity to change the course of people's outcomes, change the course of the outcome of the company, because we have to have a mindset that says everything we do ultimately influences a customer, a donor, a member's decision to say yes. Now, I want you to think about that. It was 2012. And I think, where's my friend Carolyn Broderick? Carolyn, are you in the room? Where's Carolyn? Carolyn, you better be in the room. There's Carolyn. Carolyn came up to me and said, "You know, Todd, you should have the main stage here." I said, "Carolyn, I would love that." Now, I must be a terrible salesperson, because it took me 12 years to make that happen. I am thrilled to be back here, and I have to tell you, in speakers school, and I do a speakers workshop, I tell people, never go on stage and say, "It's good to be here," because who really is going to come on stage and say, "Listen, I woke up, I didn't really want to do this morning." My heart is with Tri-State, I have to say. Even though I lived in Philadelphia for 40 plus years until a year and a half ago, when my wife took a job in DC, and we decided to, well, she decided and I just followed down to DC, which is where we now, Alexandria, where we now reside. When Jerry figured it out how to get me in front of Tri-State and said, "They got to hear your message," I said, "I'm going to join Tri-State." And I never let my membership go until I moved. So I feel like I'm back home, so thank you. I feel like I've come full circle. Today is the greatest opportunity in the history of the HR professional. Do I have your attention? Today is the single greatest opportunity to do something that I feel deeply passionate about, and creates an opportunity in our organizations to change the conversation. I want to suggest creating a culture proactively where people actually see the value that they offer, not just give it lip service. I believe this increases your value when we do this for people. It changes the perception, and please write this down. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Write this down, and that's your choice whether you want to do it or not. I believe we can change the conversation to focus on connecting the culture to the sustainability, the profitability, and the future of the organization. So what I want to do is suggest a nuance, if you will, to this idea of culture and how we connect it to profitability, because I don't believe that's a conversation that is really happening. And I speak to a lot of people across many, many industries. And I ask people, tell me about your culture. And I hear all kinds of answers. We're a family culture, we're a culture of fun. And those are all great answers. But the thing I'm not hearing, friends, is we have cracked the code on how to translate our culture into profitability. So what I'm going to ask you all to do right now is take a deep breath and keep an open mind to what I want to suggest to everybody today. Larry Sen, and I talk about him a little bit in my book. Culture is not an initiative. Culture is the enabler of all initiatives. I believe that. And it's time that we also, I believe, started listening to something else somebody said. This is brilliant, by the way. Culture is not lip service. Now, I'm going to tell you who said that because he's absolutely brilliant. It was me. And finally, I can't tell you the number of times I've said to people, tell me about your culture. And they quote their mission statement to me. We stand for the sustainable treatment of shag carpeting, little chipmunks, having fun, and preserving the carpet. That's not culture. That's a mission statement. Somebody else equally brilliant said this, again, me. Now, folks, I want to tell you, I don't have a PhD. I am not somebody who has spent years in academia studying culture. I'm an on the ground kind of a person. I'm observing companies nonstop, and I enjoy it. In fact, for the book, I've interviewed 7 or 8 executive leaders, and I've asked them about their culture. So I want to bring us to a place where you have the tool, where HR, you now own the stage. In other words, you have this opportunity to jump up on a stage, metaphorically or in reality, and change how people think about the culture, and start elevating this definition of culture to something that matters to everybody: profitability. That doesn't mean I want you to go out and teach people how to sell more. This matters to you. If your organization requires in any way, shape, or form money or people to operate, I think I pretty much covered every angle there. Because I've had people say to me, well, we're a nonprofit. I'm like, well, you still need money. You still got to turn the lights on. You still have to pay people. You still have to get donors to give you donations. You have to do what you need to do. So if your organization requires people and money, this is for you. So I think I've covered all the bases. Now, profitability is this funny thing, right? And as the economy goes, we talk about profitability, and I say to people, how do you define profitability? And they say, well, it's customer acquisition and retention, also known as sales. Well, of course, that drives profitability, no question about it. Unfortunately, as we're seeing in some cases, some organizations are cutting costs. Well, you can't cut your way to profitability. I mean, you can, but that is not a solution for long-term success. Mergers and acquisitions, we've seen many industries merging and acquiring and slimming down and condensing. Look at airlines, look at just about any industry you can imagine. It has looked at a merger and an acquisition as a way to increase profitability. Those are all tactical steps, and they have a very short life. Today we're going to talk about how to raise and change the conversation. Because I believe that at the end of the day, what changes profitability is what you all have this marvelous opportunity to do. Jump on this stage of connecting culture to people's mindset. I want you to write that down. So I recently asked, well, over the last, as I was writing this book, I asked 38, I think it was even more, I asked 38 CEOs the same question, or 38 whoever I could find that was senior enough in an organization. So how do you create a professional company? Only one said it's our culture. Think about that. How do you create a profitable company? One said culture. This is an opportunity for us that I believe is an opportunity to jump on that stage and own it. That's why I think this is the single greatest opportunity for HR right now. Frankly, it's the greatest opportunity for anybody in the organization. So a culture of profitability is always going to be about people, not just products and services. You know, the number of times I've said to people, and I come to you with just lots of questions I ask people all the time. Tell me how you think about these things. How are we going to achieve profitability this year? How are we going to make a difference? Well, we're going to be better, faster, cheaper, quicker. We're going to talk about that in a second. Being better, faster, cheaper, quicker is fine, and it has a very limited shelf life. Because what we do when we're better, faster, cheaper, quicker, or we rely just on that, then expectations are raised amongst our customer and our donor base. And then we have to meet those expectations again and again and again. And it gets harder and harder and harder. We can only be so much cheaper, we can only be so much faster, we can only be so much quicker, and we can only say we're that much better. And then the promise fades fast. So I work with people and I say to them, look, stop worrying about being better, faster, cheaper, quicker, because frankly, everybody says that. Let's start thinking about how to elevate the culture and connect people and their mindset to the outcomes. And I want you to write this down. The ultimate competitive differentiator of any organization will always be people's mindset. I'd like you to think about that for a second. Think about I want to say close your eyes, but I don't want anybody to fall asleep. So what I want you to do in your mind's eye right now is think about the people that you work with. As HR professionals, think about the people who are back in your organization right now, whether they're in a building or they're working from home, not a fan. And think about their mindset. If you were to say to them right now, do you know how what you do has a downstream impact, has influence on the profitability of the organization? How many of them would be able to articulate an answer? And I would argue very, very few. And when people can't make that connection, that's what I believe they become a flight risk. I believe people stay in organizations because they understand how they matter. I don't think that's news to any of us here. So when we talk about engage, empowerment, grand words and mightily important words, now we want to change the conversation. How much of your day do you spend reacting to situations? Probably a ton. This one said that one to me, I don't like this, I don't like that, I'm upset at this, whatever. I want to propose that we change the conversation. Now, obviously, you're always going to have those moments where you have to react. And I want to change the conversation, the lens through which we look at every interaction. Now, think about this. If every single time we spoke, if somebody was speaking to us, or we saw people inside our organization speaking with each other, and the lens through which they looked was, will this conversation we're having, this argument, this issue, this moment, this challenge, this email thread, here's the lens. Will what's happening right now help a client say yes? Will it do something where we're together helping drive profitability, or is this something where one of us needs to get our own way? We have to raise that conversation. We have to change how people think about the interactions we have with each other. I also said this, it's a big wonky slide. The essence of a profitable sales culture is not in just driving numbers, but fostering a culture that permeates every level of the organization. It's mindset. Please write this down. There has to be, we need across the organization a mindset that above all is about what I do every day helps a customer, a donor, somebody say yes. And when you challenge people to answer that question, the conversation raises. It eliminates all the noise underneath. I do this all the time. I say to people when they come to me, I have a small coaching practice, and whenever I do workshops or whatever it is that I do, and someone says to me, well, I'm having an issue with somebody. Here's our problem. Here's the challenge we've got. And I listen and I say, stop. Is what's happening right here, right now, going to ultimately help a customer, a client, a donor, somebody say yes to this organization? And if the answer is, nah, we're not sure, then we have an opportunity to change the mindset. Everything we do, day in and day out, has to begin. Will this help our customers say yes? And why are you in the center of all of this? Because you're in charge of people. And you have this wonderful and frankly, I believe, glorious opportunity to be, and I forgive the cliche, to be a change agent. I say everyone's in sales, and I know that makes people go, sales. And I started my speaking career by writing a book called Everyone's in Sales. And what I meant was, no, I don't mean that everybody has to go out and knock on doors and sell, although I think everybody in an organization should experience the company through the customer's eyes. And if you do that, by the way, you will have much better, more profitable, healthier conversations about how we are helping our customers say yes. Selling is about helping people make good choices. That's the definition of sales. I'm not going to play into the stereotype. We all know what the stereotype of salespeople are. That's not what this is about. Every single person in this room, what do we do every day? When we interact with people, we're helping them make a good choice. And when we help people make good choices, we improve the culture. Because now we're talking about the impact that those choices have on the business. Raise the conversation. And these good choices that we help people make every single day, when we help people change the conversation from you and me to us helping the customer say yes, that has a cumulative effect on the business. And there are businesses out there that practice this every single waking moment. So there are 3 questions that I want to propose. By the way, even though I say write this down, I'm going to do something that I never do. I'm going to give you my slides. Now, I know for a fact that you're going to go, woo, I'm going to get his slides. You'll download them, and you'll never look at them again. Which is why I'm not in the business of killing trees. To get the slides, however, at the very end of this, I'm going to give you a QR code. I'm going to ask for feedback from you. You have to go through the whole thing, and then you can download the slides. And if you have nothing nice to say, the QR code will dissolve on your phone. So, 3 questions to drive a profitable culture, and I challenge everybody to be very, very, very honest with yourselves on this one. 1, are you easy to do business with? And the answer is not as much as you think, and maybe more than you realize. Because when I ask people this question in the course of my workshops, the really honest people, the people who are willing to be vulnerable, say, you know what? Not so much. And why aren't you easy to do business with? Well, do people feel engaged and accountable for creating that easy experience? Post-COVID, with this work from home, and by the way, I'm very transparent on how I feel about this. It's nonsense. Somewhat. With work from home, we're more disconnected from our businesses. because we've changed the nature of work to getting stuff done versus how what I'm doing is helping a customer say yes. And number 3, this is the pivotal question for all of us. What are the conflicting mindsets in your business that slow everything down? Because if we want to be profitable, it starts with people's mindset and the belief, the passion for their work, and what they do is helping somebody down the road say yes to their company. That is a big deal. And who's in the middle of all this? You are. This is the stage I am imploring you all to take. This is the opportunity I believe is right in front of us. Change the conversation. Are you easy to do business with? Well, you have to make that decision. Here's your homework assignment. I dare you all to go back to your organizations when we're done. Sit down with your stakeholders. There's a cliche. There's a word from the 90s. Sit down with your stakeholders and ask this question. Are we easy to do business with? And if the answer is not a resounding yes, which I don't think it will be, because nobody's cracked this code fully, the opportunity is to ask why. And I will argue all day long, the answer starts with people understanding how what they do has a downstream impact on your customers, your donors, your members, whatever kind of business you're in. Because individual mindset creates that experience. When I wake up every morning and I go to my desk, wherever my desk would be, not me personally, but somebody in your organization, I have to believe that next email, that next text message, the very next communication is going to be read by somebody and they're going to say, whoa, or okay. And I want people to understand that the goal is to say, we're in this to help a customer, somebody say yes. Carol Dweck, I don't know if anybody's familiar with her work. I really am a big fan. She talks about fixed mindset and growth mindset. She's done some of the absolute seminal work on mindset. I've read her book and I'm re-listening to it. I've joined the 90s and I finally signed up for Audible because I'm doing a lot more driving this year. And I'm listening to her book again. And Carol Dweck, who is a PhD out of, I think it's UCLA, change can be tough, but I've never heard anybody say it wasn't worth it. Okay, that's the easy thing. Here's what she talks about, though, which I think is so brilliant. And I want you to go back right now. I want you to think about the people in your mind's eye in your organization. Ask yourselves, do they have a fixed mindset which says, you know what, I can either do it or I'm not. I'm either talented or not. I can either got this or not. Or do they have a growth mindset which says, you know what, everything can be learned if you put in the effort. And I believe, without a doubt, it doesn't have to be A or B. I believe everybody can have a growth mindset if we raise the conversation and we show them it's not about just the work that you do, but the work that you do and how it drives profitability. You may never see a client, you may never see a donor, you may never meet the end user of your services, but the quality of your work will be felt. Guaranteed. 100%. So I want to strain out. You know, when I found this, I put it in there, I had a thought. I'm like, why did I put this in there? But I didn't want to take it out because I really like it. So I'm going to say, we want to strain out the fixed mindset. That's the best I got this morning, I'm sorry. All right, so, are we doing okay? I love this. I love doing what I do because this is all in our control. 100% of what I'm talking about is in our control. So how do we do this? Well, it's a continuum. It could be a circle, it could be a pyramid. I've gotten really good at PowerPoint over the 17 years that I've been a speaker. This is what I chose this morning. People plus their mindset. Their mindset about how what they do has influence equals your culture. And then your culture decides whether we're easy to do business with or not. So what is your culture? Not all those cliched answers that I get. Your culture needs to be, we are easy to do business with because of our people and in the aggregate of their mindset that says, what I do helps a customer say yes. Raise the conversation, elevate it. Make it about the customer, and nobody can argue the point. This is the thing I want to say, really the point. When you stop people dead in their tracks, you stop them dead in their tracks when you say stop. If this isn't about the customer, this isn't about the member, the donor, then you know what? We need to reset. Because without them, we don't have anything. Jump on your stage, friends, and change the conversation. A profitable culture absolutely prioritizes mindset and behavior, and it's a belief, and I believe it. Every single person in an organization, whether they know it or not, has influence on the customer experience. It could be legal, it could be HR, it could be accounts receivable, accounts payable. We're all consumers. We've all dealt with people that we spent money with, that we've bought from, and who knows who we're dealing with, but when we hang up that phone or we stop that text message, guess what? That very last experience drives whether you come back or not. I want you to think about that. It's called the principle of recency. The very last person that your customers, your members, your donors interact with is at that moment the only person in the company. They are the chief sales officer of that moment. What's their mindset? We better be damn sure. And we better be sure that it's not a siloed mindset. The old logic, the old think, if you will, is our culture is profitable because we have met our targets. I am so sick of hearing this. Great, you met your sales targets, you met your donor targets, you met your donation targets. Congratulations. Are you profitable? How are your people? Because guess what? If you're on a calendar year on December 31st, in about 3 months, it all goes back to zero again. The new reality, success is underwritten by a profitable culture driven by mindset, period. Write that one down. If you get nothing else from this today, and I hope you'll get more, write that one down. Profitability, your culture being profitable, is a direct output of people's mindset. Whether you have one person in your company or 1.5 like I do, there's myself, and as Carolyn Broderick came up to me and said, I love Luna, who you all meet in a moment by picture, not in reality. And nobody's exempt. You see, nobody gets to say, I don't matter. Because the minute we hear somebody say that, we know as HR people, as professionals, you've got a bigger issue. You have a flight risk on your hands. So, pop quiz, this is an easy one. Do you see yourself as a people person or a people champion or a business champion? The answer should be both, hopefully. So I know it feels like sometimes we're up against a brick wall. I get it. And there's a lot going on and we're forced to react throughout the day. I understand. I am empathetic. That can be my day as well. Here's the challenge, and Jerry even alluded to it in his very kind and gracious intro. We have silos. Write this down. Silos kill companies. Make no mistake. And what is a silo? It's not an actual structure, although it could be. A silo is not just people in their own cubicles saying, I don't want to talk to anybody else. It always cracks me up, no matter where, if people are actually in an office, how you have people sitting next to each other emailing about a situation. Get up, walk around the corner, and do something which has fallen out of vogue. Have a conversation. I know it's risky. Silos are not just these physical structures, they're a mindset. And they're a mindset that says, I'm just not my job, no. Silos, when you peel them back, are a belief that I don't matter. They're a belief that I don't want to be held accountable. Silos kill companies, and a silo mindset, I promise you, fractures the profitability of your culture. I guarantee it. And you all know it. You're all highly experienced, very professional. You're very good at what you do. Silos have never helped a company. It's like if we think about our organizations, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. If a piece falls out, a customer can't say yes. If a piece falls out, something's broken. If a piece is missing, a donor can't give you a donation. If a piece is missing, now you go from being a profitable culture to a culture that's crippled. The piece falling out is somebody's mindset not believing that they matter, somebody's mindset saying, I'm gonna silo, I'm just the. As soon as I hear those words, the three deadliest words of a company, I'm just the, is the minute I say, we have the beginnings of a real problem and a real opportunity at the same time. So we elevate the conversation and we make everything through the lens of, is this gonna help our organization grow? Is this conversation, this back and forth, this whatever this might be, is this gonna help us be better? And if the answer is yes, then you've got the beginnings of a tremendous sales mindset. And if the answer is no, we have an opportunity to jump on that stage and own it and change that conversation, because we wanna be, you wanna be the connector between people and the outcome. Because I think it's sad when people don't see that what they do has a material impact on the organization. The future, I don't want to say anything as grandiose as the future of HR, because that's way too big. The future of organizations, and you all are in the center of it. This is your moment. I believe this is the best opportunity right now for you to help people see that what they do helps customers believe they're in the right place. The culture becomes profitable when we, you, leadership, or it doesn't matter, anybody in the organization chooses to model the right mindset. And that mindset is, you know what I'm doing right now is somehow gonna make its way to a customer, and they're gonna be able to say yes. If your culture is broken, that fracture, silos, people believing I'm just the, people believing that they don't have worth, people believing, sadly, that what they do doesn't really have an impact. And write this one down, people believing they don't have influence. Because everybody has the marvelous opportunity to have influence. If that culture is broken, you are paralyzing your company. And we are paralyzing the company because somebody has put themselves in a silo because of their mindset. So quickly, I was told to be done by now, by 9:30. Gonna be done at 9:22. Somebody set the timer. 5 ways to drive a profitable culture. Remember, you're getting the slides, but you got to do the survey or no slides for you. 1, you need to connect with strategy. Your strategy has to be the thing that drives mindset and behavior. There cannot be a disconnect. If your strategy is connected with how people see their role and their connection to the business, then your strategy will drive profitability. Number 2, employee engagement. You all are the experts in that one. I can't even begin to spend enough time. I could probably spend days on this one. We all could. However, let me say this. Employee engagement, please write this down, begins with having a common mindset. One mindset that says all of us raise the conversation above our competitors, and we think about how what we do helps the customer say yes. Number 3, adaptability. Listen, I asked those same 38 CEOs, I asked, how often do you look at and reevaluate your culture? Well, our culture has been the same for years. Well, how do you know? Because we're doing well. Really? What's your turnover? Well, it's not so good. What's going on? We got problems there too. Your culture has to be ahead of market trends. Number 4, continuous improvement. I think that's fairly obvious. We have to be, I want you to write this down, we have to be courageous and vulnerable enough to jump on that stage and say, we're in need of change. No one has ever gotten fired for improving profitability. And you can do it not by being better, faster, cheaper, quicker. You can do it by jumping on that stage and saying, we've created a mindset in this organization and a set of beliefs. And finally, none of this works if you're a voice in the wilderness. Leaders set the tone. You're all leaders. I don't look at leaders as a title, because at this point in my life, I just don't really care about people's titles. It doesn't resonate with me. What I want to know is, what do you do? Like, tell me what you do. Tell me how you do it. Tell me the impact you have. I have yet to meet anybody, anywhere, who wakes up, gets dressed, comes to whatever office they're in, and says, I am proud to be overhead. People want to know that what they do matters. And that's how we drive that profitable culture. And by the way, this can cost you absolutely nothing to do this. I want to encourage everybody to build programs, to offer programs where we talk about people's connection to the business. I did a workshop not too long ago in Texas for a company, and we put white paper all around the room. We had 30 people in the organization. I'm giving you a tip here. You can do this workshop. It's pretty easy to do. And I had 30 people in the room from different parts of the company, sales, manufacturing, parts, you name it. And I said, draw me what it looks like for a customer to say yes to you. When I tell you that there was more aggravation and grief and hair pulling trying to do that exercise. And I said, everywhere there's a silo, put a red square. Everywhere it's easy for a customer to do business with you, circle it in green. Guess how many red squares there were on that paper going around the room? We ran out of red markers. Guess how many green circles there were? 0. You see, when people actually see what it's like through the customer's eyes, then we build that profitable culture. Now we can see what we need to see. So no longer are we in a silo that says, I'm just not my job. That's not my thing. That's somebody else. Wrong department. It's a stop-go thing. That's all it is. It's a stop-go thing. Stop or go. I'm going to make this very simple because I see the world very simply. Because we have to get on that stage and we have to change that conversation. Every conversation I want to propose, try this for 28 days. If you do the same thing for 28 days, we develop new behavior. It's called the rule of 28. Some people say it's 66. Some people say it's 22. I don't know. But try it for at least a month. And look through this lens with every interaction. Is this going to help us, help a client, help somebody say yes? If it is, then it's driving profitability, because the mindset is not about you versus me. The mindset's about the people who keep us in business. I am a powerful believer, or I'm a believer in a powerful mindset, because I believe that is the thing that makes all the difference in the world. And I didn't used to believe that. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I got out of college in 80, none of your business. I went to work for Xerox Corporation. Some of you may actually remember that company. It's still out there. I had an audience 2 weeks ago. They said, who's Xerox? I said, it might be time for me to change the analogy. And we thought profitability was selling more. And at the time it was, and probably still is in some quarters. The one thing Xerox did in the 80s was it got us all thinking about how we all influence the customer. That's what got me to write, honestly, my first book. So here's the deal. You have seen this book out there. It's my latest book. It's been printed just for this audience. It is, drum roll please, free. If I find one excess copy, I will drive to your office, I will find you, and I will give you a copy. Please take a copy, because here's the gist. Here's the gist. You want to develop a profitable culture, develop people, period, end of story. End of story. And companies right now that don't put a premium on training and developing people are going to have a problem. I think they're already having a problem. I'm inviting you all to shift that conversation that fuels that profitability. As HR professionals, you will jump on that stage and you will change the world. That is not hyperbole. I believe it. Because people are looking for a reason to say, I matter. You'll gain the traction, even more traction, more acceptance. You'll change the conversation. I'm a big Mad Men fan. I love the show. I streamed it about 7 years ago when I had a back injury and I was literally flat on my back for about 3 months. And I streamed Mad Men and I watched it. I've now watched the whole series. My wife says to me, you're watching it again? I'm like, yes, I'm watching it again. I'm one of those people, I like to watch the same thing over and over again. And Peggy Olson and Don Draper from Mad Men said it. If you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. I love this woman, Simone Biles. I think she is a rock star. She's changing the conversation. I'm not the next Usain Bolt. I'm not the next Michael Phelps. I'm the first Simone Biles. You see, she's changed that conversation. This is the cheap, gratuitous plug for emotional support. I said I have a company of one. Carolyn, where are you again? There she is. Carolyn walked up to me and said, I love Luna because she's all over Facebook and I do a Luna Cam. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce you all to my Chief Morale Officer. She keeps me leveled, she keeps me sane. Many of you, I actually took her to a keynote of mine 2 weeks ago. I got more interest at my table than I ever have in my life. Go figure. Now, sometimes Luna, who has attitude, let me tell you, she lets me know when I'm doing the wrong thing. Yes, she's perfect. Here's the code. So right now, everybody, before you leave this room, please, 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 tell me what you think. Tell me what your takeaways are. If you want those slides, I would love to give them to you. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the bottom line. Remember this. If we're going to create a culture of profitability, we're going to change the conversation, we're going to pull people out of those silos, and we're going to say, you have influence on the customer. Thank you very much.
We just finished a session with Todd Cohen. He was very engaging. I really enjoyed.
I just finished a presentation with Todd Cohen. It was very inspirational. You don't realize, how much of an impact you have at an organization and how the mindset of employees really changes your business and how we're all really involved in the sales of it.
The presentation was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. There was a lot of takeaways. He was very practical and realistic, and he made it so, he brought it to life. His book, the content, how we could use it as HR practitioners and anyone else who might need this, just to know where they stand and how to position it in their organization. Fantastic. I'm so happy to start the conference off with his presentation. It was amazing.
I thought Todd Cohen's presentation was excellent. I think he was right on the money. We've experienced exactly what he's talking about in our office at Prime Point. And I'm actually looking forward to having Todd come into our office and do a workshop. We're actually start talking about that as well.
I just think that he does a phenomenal job, and for any association or organization that's trying to up their game and explain to all their employees and individuals why they are a part of finding ways for an organization to raise the bar and increase their profitability, he is absolutely the individual that you want to hire.
Hello, my name is Monica Combi, Membership Initiatives Director with SHRM, and I had the opportunity to see Todd Cohen today here at the Garden State Council SHRM conference. And Todd was amazing to talk to HR professionals, to really just challenge them to have that growth mindset and really how sales is vital to every organization and the role that HR plays with moving the organization forward and impacting the culture, ultimately leading to profitability and understanding its customers.